Has it really been a whole year since I've been making videos? Ah, whatever, nobody cares. Here's NECA's Ultimate City Hunter from Predator 2.
Want some candy?
Here is the City Hunter out of the package, and for the most part, the sculpt on this guy nails it. There are a few quality control issues we'll get into shortly, but in terms of accuracy to the film, NECA got everything correct. And it's kind of funny if you think about the films, like when they were making the first Predator movie, they're like, oh, let's not have netting on his right arm, and when they were making the second, I guess they thought, let's change it up by not having netting be on the left arm instead. Yeah, that'll make it real different. Other big change for the second movie was, of course, the mask, and man, is the sculpt on that good. I mean, just look at all the little dents and divots. I don't know, was this dented up in the movie, but I mean, they got little holes on the sides there, pretty accurate. I mean, there are supposed to be tubes coming out of the mask here, like when Harrigan takes it off, there's like little tubes you have to unlatch, but I don't see anything there, but I don't really know where those tubes go. So, I mean, it doesn't really bother me at all. Ah, that's why you need tubes, NECA! This mask comes off way too easy! Seriously, that's like a head joint issue we'll talk about when we get to articulation, I guess. All the netting on his body? Sculpted. Nice. This little belt's a separate piece on a string. This one runs underneath the armor up here, actually. I've never seen NECA do that before. See, and just pull it. I mean, you can't really remove it because of that. I guess you could cut it and pull it off if you want. And then if you lift this one up, you can see Predator's got some more string up his butt there. That's how it was in the movie, though. This little clip thingy back here for his combi stick. That's not quite accurate to the movie, but NECA obviously included it for a good reason. We're going to attach the combi stick there later, so that's no problem. First thing that's a problem is this part. This rubber part down here that's like kind of like a belt is not aligned. You can see almost there's a tab and it should go right there, and then this thing should be aligned with like the crotch piece, for lack of a better term, but it's not. In fact, it's been assembled incorrectly and glued on wrong, I think, because you can't quite turn it with the rest of the body, and you try and turn it, this piece turns with it, and why couldn't you just assemble it correctly, NECA? That's not great there. I mean, it's not a big deal, but still. Next problem, this, where the wrist blades come out, that's a separate piece, and it's kind of popping out on mine. I mean, it's not quite there, and I guess I could squish it back in, like, although it doesn't seem like it. But that does bother me a little, that gap right there. The worst offender, though, has to be the wrist gauntlet on the left over here, because the lid on the self-destruct part of it was so loose on mine, and I say was because now it's broken, obviously! I mean, what gives, NECA? Like, you can use this cheap little plastic that just breaks on us, and like, this little metal rod that's in this thing was just sliding out all the time, even when I was trying to like fix it, and I obviously wasn't successful, but I'm gonna try and get better with some super glue. Now that I think about it, it's kind of weird that this thing opens this way, because if you're the Predator, like, and you're looking at this thing, wouldn't you want it to open the other way so you can read everything easier? And I don't know, it's weird, but, you know, believe it or not, that's accurate to the movie, so that's not NECA's fault. What is their fault is using cheap plastic parts to break on you. Don't do that anymore, NECA. Thankfully, the paint on the inside of that is really cool, though. I mean, they even painted little numbers, and the paint on this thing's cool all over. Like, everywhere he's got armor, there's this green wash that makes it look like copper, like, you know, the Statue of Liberty, like, turned green over the years. It's just, like, really cool. Got that, even in here, like, see how much green there is on that bronzy metal texture? It's so cool looking. Then the thighs, look at the paint on the thighs. It's got an actual skin pattern. I mean, I can tell it's such an improvement over the Jungle Hunter, and the sculpt on the feet too. Wow, they don't look like blobs. It's looking pretty nice. There are supposed to be these little black marks on the white part of his skin, like spots or freckles or something, and they're not there, but honestly, it doesn't bother me too much. What's most impressive though is like the paint for the netting is pretty darn spot on. It's like on the sculpt almost everywhere. I mean, it's not perfect, like, it seems to be a little off the lines right here especially, but everywhere else, it's like they nailed it. I'm really impressed, NECA. The underside of the dreads don't have their beads painted, but look at that back of that head there. That's really brown and odd. That's odd looking there. But I mean, what is good about the dreads is they're all separate. None of them are really stuck together, it seems. I mean, if there are, it's like so few you don't even notice. That's pretty cool. That's a good improvement. Again, though, the issues with the quality control, because what the heck is this white paint in the right armpit here? That's sloppy. It looks like bubbles. It's kind of gross looking, actually. Overall, sculpt's pretty perfect. Paint's as good as can be expected, but the quality control on that just really needs fixing, unfortunately. For articulation, the City Hunter Predator has a ball joint at his head, sort of. I mean, he can look up and down about that much, and I say it's sort of a ball joint because, first of all, it doesn't really work that well, and then you look at it, does that really look like it's shaped like a ball to you? I don't know. They really need to make this more bulbous so the head doesn't fly off so easy. But it can look all the way around, and even more since it just comes off, so, you know, whatever. Shoulders go up about that far. This armor here is rubbery, so it doesn't hinder them at all. And they can go all the way around. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbows. Swivel at the top of this gauntlet, but not this one over here, strangely. And ball joint wrists that, just like the head, kind of pop off too easy. There was a hinge up here on the left gauntlet. Let's try and get that thing squished back on there. And articulated blades on the right. They just barely come out though. Joint at the diaphragm goes so far left and right, so far back and forth. Ball joint at the waist can go back and forth a little, and front to back. Hips are on ball joints. He can do the splits so far, come so far forward, go so far back because of that rubber butt. That's really good. Swivels at the thighs, double knees, and ball joints at the ankles. Lastly, the plasma caster on his shoulder is articulated. It just kind of slides and rotates around. I can't really think of anything more they could have added, so pretty perfect articulation. Just don't let the head and the hands pop off. The packaging for this guy uses the pre-release poster for Predator 2 that used to say Christmas down there, now it says City Hunter. That's probably an improvement. Predator 2 on this side and the other side. Nothing interesting on the bottom. Same thing up top. 17 and up. Just like the movie. On the back we get a bunch of cool photos, and it looks like the background in there is the Predator's trophy wall from the end of the movie. That's pretty cool. Open up the flap to reveal the figure, and on the left we got a cool picture of the Predator holding a spine. I guess he's in a dungeon or something there. Oh no, wait, that's a trash can. He's totally in an alleyway. And over here we see the figure, of course. Open it up and slide that figure out of the tray. Now we can see the background is actually one of the walls of the Predator's ship. In the tray you get one long strip of tape going across all these little accessories here. Well, at least I'm not losing it. There's one more little piece of tape up here on the spear, but I don't really need to take that one off. On the back we got one twist tie for this head, one for an arm, one for the other arm, and one for the torso. And once that's done, figure comes sliding through the leg holes. Nice! As far as packaging goes, it looks pretty nice, and everything stays in that tray even without the tape pretty well, so good job, NECA! For accessories, the City Hunter comes with an alternate head, 3 extra hands for a total of 5, a bloody skull and spine, cannon blast effect, his smart disc, net launcher, a collapsed spear, an extended spear, and whatever these things are. What are these things? Oh, it sort of says here, two heads, 5 hands, then, 3 hands plus the 2 he's wearing, and 2 heads, the bloody skull spine, cannon blast effect, the disc, that's the smart disc, the net launcher's a little thing, opening gauntlet, that's on his wrist, collapsed and extended spears, and more. Well, I guess these are the and more part. Alright, so I really don't know what these are called, and I didn't even remember what they were from in the movie at first, but they're clearly part of the Predator's armor, and indeed the Predator does have sort of like a little divot on his left gauntlet here for both of them to go in. And rewatching Predator 2 at first, I thought these were maybe how he shot that little claw that Harrigan finds, that doesn't correspond to any element on the periodic table somehow magically. But actually later, during the meat locker scene, that little part of his armor rises up, which is why this one's a lot higher, so it can stand up, and he shoots like one little energy bolt at Harrigan, and that's it. Kind of a lot of effort for something the Predator only uses once in the whole movie, but that's NECA going the extra mile for you there. Although most of the time, of course, his armor was just like this, so you probably just want to put that on his gauntlet and just leave it there, which is what I'm going to do for the rest of this review. But that's a really cool accessory to give us, NECA. I don't know what it's called, but it's cool. Not as cool is this, the smart disc. I mean, it's a pretty cool weapon, probably the coolest weapon the Predator uses in the whole movie, but if you're going to give us 2 versions of that gauntlet thingy and 2 versions of the combi stick to reflect when it's like open and closed and when this thing's like up and down, why not give us 2 versions of the smart disc where like one has the blades sticking out? Because I know the blades come out of this thing, right? I'm pretty sure they do. That's how the Predator gets people with it. Anyways, Predator can really only hold this with this alternate right hand, and it's weird because you can totally tell from the shape of it. It's meant to be held like a human. It's like the human hand shape here. And sure enough, his hand has to get squished to fit inside the human-sized shape indent. But, I mean, I guess that's because Harrigan used it in the movie, and they knew Harrigan was going to steal us from Predator and use it for most of the movie. Anyways, he can hold it on that hand. Let's actually pop this guy on now and start looking at those hands. His standard fist is on there pretty tight. There we go. Let's pop that alternate right one on and see how it is. Boy, it's pretty tough to do. I still haven't gotten it on. And then these knuckles really hurt your thumb when you're pushing it on there. It's really tough. Whoa, that was hard to do. I don't think I've ever had a hand from a NECA figure that was as hard to get on as this one. And I actually recommend heating it up before you do. And let's get the smart disc on there and pose him with it. And see how it goes. The fingers in the little holes again. I guess that's as good as you get. Get your index finger in there. There we go. And yeah, see what I mean about getting an alternate one with the blades out? Because this thing looks like just pretty darn small. Although, if we did have an alternate one that was bigger, it wouldn't fit in his little side holster here. Which is pretty cool that NECA included that. I like that. Now, this is Predator's alternate left hand, and I must admit at first I thought this is a karate chop hand, you know? But it's not. It's actually for holding this thing. It just slides over his hand like so, and then, yeah, there he is. This is actually the net launcher that the Predator used in the beginning of the movie against all the drug dealers. I mean, he was invisible, but the launcher wasn't, and so NECA took a look at it and said, we can sculpt that, and it's even painted very nicely. It's a pretty cool accessory, honestly. And then it's got this little notch here, and the rest of the movie, he had it right here. I don't think he uses it again after that first scene. Maybe in the meat locker or something. I don't know. But that's where it goes, and that's where it'll stay. His last extra hand is just a sort of gripping hand that's a pretty close match for the one he came packaged with on the right. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. Originally it was packaged with a flayed hand on the left, but I guess NECA didn't feel it was important enough to give us two flayed hands, even though the Predator's always doing that pose, you know, because this one's kind of close to it, even though it's not. It's clearly for the smart disc. This is for the net launcher. And everything else is for either holding the combi stick or just, you know, looking flamboyant like this one does. Rawr. Still lots of hands, so that's good. But let's switch back to his gripping hand so we can take a look at his next accessory, or accessories, the combi stick. Even though NECA just calls it a spear on the back of the package, this is totally the combi stick in its collapsed form. It's got all these ornate details on it. It's really cool looking. Nice golden colored paint job. Let's see if he can hold it in his left grip hand and his right, although I think it does fit better in his left. Then the extended combi stick or spear, or whatever you want to call it, has the same nice gold and silver paint details. Oh man, look at all that sculpted little ornate stuff. It looks like it's like rusted metal with like little holes and stuff. Anyways, it's extended out. It's got these little tips, and these things at the end are pretty frail, so be careful not to bend them because they could break and you have to super glue it back on right there. But let's see if he can hold it. Left hand works great. Right hand also works. It can even go on that clip on his back from earlier. Although that is really meant for the combi stick when it's collapsed, because why would the Predator walk around with it extended? And yeah, looks pretty good with it. I can't even tell he's wearing it. Awesome job, NECA. I don't believe this, friends, but we're still not done with accessories, because next up is the bloody skull with the spine, which is actually the skull of Bill Paxton's character, Jerry, from the movie.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Anyways, the sculpt and the paint on it are really nice. The Predator can hold it in either of his gripping hands really well. Next is the Plasma Caster Blast Effect. It's cast in translucent orange, has a little bit of white paint on it for some reason. It looks good though. And of course it just slides on top of the Plasma Caster on his shoulder up here. Although the hard part with getting the Plasma Caster in position is like his hair dreads are always in the way, and it's kind of easy to just take off his head. Anyways, this thing is meant to go on one way by the shape of it, but you can really just put it on either way you want, and it seems to stick okay. And just snap that head back on, it looks pretty great. Also looks like the Predator's firing from his hair, but whatever. And finally, we gotta take a look at the last accessory, the unmasked alternate head. Now, sculpt on this head is really good. It's NECA. What'd you expect? I like how the dreads are all separate and not sticking together, just like the normal head. But just like the Jungle Hunter, where are the spines above and below this ridge here? I mean, I guess they couldn't really do them at this scale or price point, so whatever. Paint on the eyes is good. It's hard to see in there, but you can see his individual eyes, so that's pretty good. And then the mouth, paint's good in there, but it's not so good on the forehead. Because these stripes, these straight lines, they're in the movie, I guess. There's a pattern similar to that. But they're not straight lines like this, and then the white underneath, it's there, but it's not so stark. Like, the contrast is really high here, and I feel like this whole section just needs like a light brown wash to like muddle those lines and then make everything a little more gritty and dull, and the little black spots on the white parts of the skin are there. Too bad they aren't there on the rest of the body, but overall, pretty good alternate head. Popping it on is a little mushy feeling, like I'm not sure when it's on all the way. I think the problem is, like, does this look like a ball joint to you? It's so flat, and then like what's with the little dents and dings in it? That's so weird, NECA. I can push it on though. I think it's on. Is it on? I wish there was a more distinct click, but he looks pretty good with it. I mean, I'm not going to complain too much, even though I already have. With all that said, though, just the fact that it comes with that extra head and 3 extra hands and a little smart disc and the little extra piece of his gauntlet there, and not to mention the net launcher down there and the plasma blast effect and the bloody skull and spine, the combi stick and the other combi stick, I think this is a pretty good amount of accessories, even if there were a few choices. Not bad overall. Scale time! Here's the scale, it never fails, it makes me... Okay, I'm not really doing that joke. The Ultimate City Hunter stands at about 8¼ inches or 21½ centimeters tall. Here he is next to a DC Universe Classics and Marvel Legends figure, the NECA Ultimate Jungle Hunter Predator, AVP Scar Predator, a Xenomorph Warrior, Thermal Vision Dutch, and NECA's original release of the City Hunter Predator. And you can already see the big difference between these guys in terms of foreheads. You see what I'm talking about here? I mean, one of these ain't accurate, right? And wouldn't you know, it looks like NECA was even trying to do the little black dots back then. Hey, I thought they couldn't do that because of the netting. What gives, NECA? The old one didn't even get a hinged gauntlet, though. This was just sculpted on, unlike this. At least his belt is lined up properly, though. Ultimately, friends, this is a pretty good figure. NECA essentially nailed the sculpt and the articulation and the accessories. The paint could be a bit better here or there, but I do feel like I am nitpicking. What I'm not nitpicking, though, is those quality control issues. I mean, the door on the gauntlet should not be breaking off. I mean, I'm gonna have to super glue this shut now, and I won't be able to move it anymore. That's just not acceptable. But standing here looking at him, I mean, I can tell NECA has given us so much effort, and it's almost worth recommending it based on the quantity of what they're giving us alone. So I do recommend it, but just know that things aren't always going to be perfect. You may have some broken parts here, there, and keep that super glue handy. Well, until next time, peace out, YouTube.